Hello, bootstrappers.
Hello, Bootstrappers. Today we have a really special guest, Dr. Heather Kim out of San Antonio, Texas. She is a board certified pediatrician and the sole proprietor, owner, and worker at Intuitive Pediatrics out of San Antonio. So, hey, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
What is really fascinating about your journey, why we wanted to have you on, is you had a really incredible journey through like trying to figure out the puzzle piece of how to reach potential clients on using social media and also balancing growing your business but not growing it too much. So there's a couple of like intersection points that I think are really, really interesting. So welcome. Because we should start there. Welcome. Like diving in like it's a real formal interview, and we just don't do that. So first of all, just thanks for being here.
Yeah, and I've had really good coaching along the way for the
Well,
bootstrappers. Eva is my business coach as well as my friend. And the with regards to how to market what I do, when I first started, and I think I'm in my fourth year now, Facebook has changed a lot since we started, and the algorithms are continually changing. And so one of the things that we did together, me and my business coach Eva, is sat down and looked at what the present Facebook algorithms were, and we looked at. Do you remember, Eva, when we talked about give and take? So one of the things that I did is I'm a writer, and I started writing initially before I even started my practice. I was writing about pediatric medicine from my lens, and I have a very unique lens. I'm a holistic practitioner. I approach child through the relationship of mother, family, through the entire unit, and then on into the generations.
now
Because
were you putting that on a blog, or where were you kind of
yeah,
putting that out?
so I built a little awful WordPress website that stays with me today. And anyone in the know that looks at that website will know that I built it myself. But there's something sweet about that. And my business is in a place now where I don't depend on the look of my website. So I sort of keep that WordPress as a relic to the bootstrap, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Those,
Yeah.
those,
So
first, those first nights of sitting up and studying WordPress. And I remember I was telling you, like, just trying to get one sentence to do what I wanted it to do on WordPress and sitting there for hours.
I know
yeah,
WordPress is very popular, but I find it frustrating.
Oh,
It's a really hard learning curve on it.
we had some big celebrations around like, hey, it actually did. We said so. I do remember the give and take, and the notion of give and take is to basically give value in a way that completely represents who you are and what your offering is to the world, so that the right customers see when they see you and they interact with you, they immediately get value. And so when they get value, it begins a relationship of trust, and they also begin to see you as a trusted authority that they have a relationship with. So it just changes the dynamics really beautiful.
yeah. And then the writing was a beacon, right? We talk about we want to light a beacon within ourselves so that we attract the right kind of people to our business. Nobody wants to deal with the customer that's the wrong match, right?
And they
It's just
don't want to deal with the provider that's the wrong match either.
no. And in any business, it's not worth the money. It's not in the end. The wrong customer and the wrong business there's no money worth it for that relationship. It's not a sustainable relationship. And so my writing was that beacon. My writing was the way for people to kind of get to know me and to offer some of the wisdom that I already had, and begin to put it out to the public. And like I said, I was doing this 4 to 5 years ago, and the Facebook algorithms did not suppress my writing, even though it was connected to a website that was off the Facebook website. They hadn't quite gotten to the point where they were suppressing those further down in people's feeds. And so I would post a link to my writing on my personal website, and people would go. People that I didn't know would go. People outside my friend group would find it because it was available in people's feed.
And they would share it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Facebook came out with their own product journal, Facebook Journal, and they'll promote that over the outside links. But yeah, you must have hit right as that transition was happening.
Right before it. Yeah, I got extremely lucky. The other way that I got very lucky is that I had joined a mom group in earnest.
Because you are a mom.
Because I am a mom, and I had joined a mom group because I wanted that support in that community. And they I tell people this often, they really built the bulk of the beginning of my practice because they knew me as someone, as a mom that was communicating. And I'm pretty exuberant. I was utilizing Facebook quite a bit then, talking, asking questions, putting questions out there to the group. And it is, I have like a niche market because I'm appealing to the crunchy, what they call the crunchy or the granola type mom. I'm a yoga teacher and outdoors woman, and I use essential oils, and I am an osteopath. And so I use physical medicine as well. And so this was really appealing to these ladies. Plus, my practice, like the heart of my practice was in returning women to sort of the head of the table around their child's healthcare. So one of the things that happened as Western medicine developed in under the construct of patriarchy is that the wise women kind of got pushed out from the table. Women had been taking care of children, the elderly, the dying. They had been midwives, they had been herbalists, women had been the primary health providers for the entire community up into a little teeny tiny time period that we live in now. And so this was a very particular type of woman that was attracted to what I was doing. And a lot of them were already in that Facebook group.
Well, what I like about it is you've taken a point of view. You're not afraid to say, here's what I believe.
Mhm.
You're going to attract people that resonate with that to you, because otherwise it's not authentic.
Right.
Now, as you were in the group, I remember there being a dance with the administrators. You wanted to make sure that as you were interacting with the group that you didn't actually violate any of the rules.
Yeah, because it's a group that's not meant as a sales place. It's meant as a place to be held. And so I was very careful to respect that. But what happened is the word got out what I did, and then it just went from
Mhm.
one woman to another woman to another woman. Every single woman in my practice is about 1 degree of separation from each other at this point.
Now, how long did it take you to fill up kind of your practice to the point you're happy with it? What kind of journey was that?
Well, well, I live in a capitalistic country, and I got this idea in my head of what a physician should make, right?
Sure. Yes.
And so I initially set goals that were based on what I felt like was a fair income for me, right? And I stretched way out past what's possible because this is a concierge practice. These people have my cell phone. They text. That number of what is possible is an ongoing journey as I sort of polished my processes. So my workflow has really changed dramatically in the last 4 years. My boundaries have changed. So I don't take calls at 11 o'clock at night anymore. If you're that sick, you need to be in an emergency room. I did a lot of work on my own personal boundaries. And what that did is allow me I had to shrink and then I grew. And then I had to kind of bring it back in because what would happen is my husband is an orthopedic surgery resident and I have a young child. And so balancing all that, and I still work pediatric urgent care because I love the higher acuity. So trying to keep all of that in balance without getting into like an unhappy, miserable place, it's still a constant practice. Like I'm always in the question of, is there more room? Or is this one so bad of a match that maybe we need to think about letting her go somewhere else? People's personalities, like it's such an intimate practice that how I select these people sometimes it takes some time to get to know if they're going to be a good match or not.
Now, in year one, when we first started the coaching relationship, you did set a goal for that year, and that was based on if you hit this number, you know it's a viable business.
Yes.
So there was that initial, like, here it is, this is what I'm shooting for, and then there was the iteration of the expanding. I need to make some adjustments workflow wise, and then okay, now I have capacity for more, make some more adjustments. Okay, now I have more capacity, and I think you're at like a capacity.
Yeah, I love it. And I still get inquiries all the time. And what I do with those inquiries is, I direct them to other pediatricians that I trust here in San Antonio. But at the same time, I leave the possibility there. At this time, it's not possible for me. But if it changes, I'll let you know. Because these people, they found me. having someone find your business is not something to just disregard. And so leaving that sort of an open conversation, like, here, let me guide you to someone else. But if anything changes, I'll let you know.
Do you
But
keep
not
a
an active wait list or anything like that.
do you keep a mailing list or like anything like that, or is it primarily when you write it's on your blog and they need to come to it?
It's super easy because it's all coming through the web. Most of it's coming through the website. And so when I just pull up my, like the contact page of my website has a
Mhm.
basically an identifier email on it. And so I can just type that into my search and all those people are there that have reached out that way. And then I use Google Voice as well, which keeps a nice text stream as well for me to circle back through.
Now, do you think a lot of physicians, well, I guess the independent physicians have to go through the content creation idea, or is this fairly unique?
Oh, you know, physicians are interesting people. It's an interesting group that I live within. The trailblazing in medicine is not actually the norm. It's really not. Most kids that get into med school are the kids that do what they're told on time and they follow the rules and they study hard and they work hard, and that's how they got there. But it's a little tiny group of us that are like, I'm gonna do what I want, like rebel. The rebel is not the typical physician. It's not. And my practice is cash based for a reason, and part of that is my rebellion against what exists right now. My experience of insurance companies and my experience of in my taste, the taste that American medicine leaves in my mouth is somewhat foul. And so it was my push against and the need to make something, to offer something different. And from my experience as a patient and my experience as a physician.
Is there anything, because you're a doctor, anything that you have to be conscious of or like really careful about in interacting on the web?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I have insurance through the Texas Medical Liability Trust, the TMLT, which is a big group. And there is actually internet liability built into my policy. So if someone does something crazy and says, Dr. Kim said it on the web, I have protection. I'm also, every single thing that a physician posts, you at the end, there's always got to be the caveat, discuss with your own healthcare provider. You do have to be smarter. You do.
And did writing just come naturally, or did you have to make yourself set aside time for it, or how'd you handle the process?
I love to write. Time is precious in my life. And so it looks like getting up usually dawn, like pre-dawn before anyone else wakes up in my house, to have that quiet space to do it. But yes, I've always enjoyed writing, but having time to do it was something that Eva had to help coach me on, and still does. I mean, it's still on my coaching table.
Yeah, it is funny. We're doing these videos. Content creation takes a lot of time, in my opinion. I mean, it's not free.
And I'm circling back. We have the content in video, and one of my projects is to now convert it to written form. And this whole like wanting to get it done really well slows me down. And it's like, okay, actually, I should just get it done.
And it is, and like putting your writing out there is like showing your butt.
Yes.
There's a major reveal when you put it out there.
I think that's what holds back a lot of people from being, what they could be, is like, you have to be vulnerable, right? I mean, if you're just doing surface level stuff, it's not interesting. Now, did you find all the articles were the same, or did some of them resonate better? How did you fine tune kind of what you chose to write about?
Okay. So to this day, it's always shocking to me what people respond to.
Me too. Me too.
Things that I feel like are so beautiful and so important, and two people will be like, "Nah, it's all right." Like I use it. Eva doesn't like when I use this word, but I'm like, Eva, I just crapped that out, and people loved it. I don't feel like it didn't cost me anything, but it's interesting what pieces of our wisdom people value and what pieces of our wisdom we value, right?
Yeah, and you don't know until it's out there and people are interacting with it.
it's funny because we're on here talking a little bit about social media, but I had to take a social media break because it isn't for me. And everyone's different with their sensitivity, but for me, Facebook actually cost me a little bit.
I don't really, it's funny. I've got a lot of presence on Facebook, but I can't absorb the conversations there because I find it's negative and I can't tune it. Like Twitter, I can tune in who I'm listening to and who I'm not listening to where it feels like valuable. I have a hard time with Facebook.
I've got my Facebook pretty tuned, like mute, 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 airlock, mute, dial, dial, dial. But it took a long time.
It does. It's some gardening. And I think it was one of those things where I had so many weeds. I was like, just put the cardboard over.
Get the fire, get the fire.
I'll come back next year. Yeah, no. And I didn't need to be on there right now. Like where my business, I think that was part of, here's the awareness piece of it, is where my business is right now. Because I did need to be cultivating it initially, but where my business is now, I don't need to be on there. And what I need to be is present for the people that I care for. And Facebook was taking me out of that.
If you were to kind of think back over your journey of over the last 4 years and just distill a few points of wisdom that you would offer to somebody starting a similar journey to yours today. So knowing things have changed on Facebook, but also knowing that there's wisdom that kind of transcends changes. What would you offer to someone starting a journey similar to yours today?
Very obvious to me, have a coach. Have a coach. I cannot imagine what would have happened without the guidance that I've had. It's worth every penny. Every penny. And this business does not make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but the value of coaching for me, because I'm a physician, I'm not a businesswoman, and I had never done this before. And just like if I was going to go do Kilimanjaro, like I would hire a guide, right? And so that would be number one, hire a guide that you trust and that has, because there is a lot of different coaching out there with different sorts of values and goals from the coaching standpoint even. And so finding a coach that really resonates with what you're after and what you want to create.
Yes, because I mean, not only are you a doctor, you have to be a business person and a marketer, right? And so that's a lot of ground.
Oh yeah, navigating difficult conversations. There's been so much value in coaching for me, helping me identify what I really wanted. Like when we step into business or bootstrapping, it's really easy to kind of fall into like sort of there's the American entrepreneur and this is what it looks like. And we're all going to have $1 million in 10 years, and it's just not, it wasn't a good fit for me. And so having someone to help me figure out what it was that I really wanted out of this, because this is my time, and my energy that's going into this. And so wouldn't it be nice if it's what I want?
Well, I mean, it's funny. We all have one path we get to walk. Like you get to choose, right? But there's not. You don't have to have the same dream everybody else does to have a great life.
No, or a great business.
Yeah, that's right. It's really hard when you're in it and you're hitting like multiple learning curves. So you're learning new things that are outside of your domain of expertise. Like you're a fabulous doctor. Yeah. To have somebody to help you look at it while you're in it, so you can get that objective lens and then begin to see where you are now, where you're going, and a clearer path for you. Not just a cookie cutter. This is how you should do it, right?
Yeah. No, it's been beautiful and dynamic, right?
Other wisdom.
I sent you that text. Do you remember what you told me about? Usually, what is it? Most businesses fail. It's by the second year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So things were not fun necessarily the second year. The second year, it was awful. Like I was where I'd gone too far. I was like, why the hell did I do this? This is miserable. None of the workflow was hammered out yet. Like it was at the apex of not fun. And I had lost all my rah enthusiasm of the first year.
Yeah.
And Eva had told me, she's very early on, that most businesses fail by the second year. So when it got crappy, I knew, okay, this is part of the journey. This is where I can quit, I can give up and be done, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or I can figure out what that transition to surviving and being an outlier, being one of the businesses that survive, what needs to shift for me to make it to my third year sane, and enjoying what I'm doing.
You hit the wall on Critical Watch.
Oh my God. Which wall?
Right. Yeah. Yes, I can understand that.
Yeah. We started it and were really incredibly excited, and then the .com bubble burst and went into kind of free fall. We still had enthusiasm though, because that was year one. Year two sucked because we weren't paying ourselves. We were basically just, cannibalizing savings to make it through. And so I'd say that wall lasted about a year and a half, and it was just pure determination. It was, I joke, I say I have snapping turtle medicine. And bite onto a stick and hold on. And to get them to let go of the stick, you have to boil the turtle. And we're just I'm just holding onto this stick. And that was all. I'm like, got to keep going. And then it got fun. And then 2008, and then it got fun again. I mean, it was long. How about you? Did you, with One and Only, did you hit a wall?
Oh, definitely did. I mean, we had no signs of success really for 18 months. I mean, we had data coming in, but there was no reason to think it would actually work. And so I applied to 20 of the top 20 business schools. One of them put me on a waiting list. And 1 week before classes start, they said they had room. We just started making money the week before. And if they'd have let me in earlier, I probably would have quit. I mean, but at that point we had a little bit of symbol of life. And I just went, if I go to business school and I read about someone selling their dating site for a bunch of money, I won't be able to live with myself. Now, if this business fails and I didn't go to business school, I think I can swallow that. So.
Yeah, because you could always recircle back and do.
Sure. Well, business school was one of those things I looked at as like the capitalism, like you're supposed to do. If I want to be a business person, I got to go to business school. But my heart really wasn't in it because I didn't want to go work for corporate America. So it probably would have been a waste of time for me.
We can hang out for a bit. This is awesome.
No, thank you, Heather, so much. I mean, this has been awesome. So many people don't know how to get started with this kind of marketing thing. I know when I started off, the answer was you took an ad out in the Yellow Pages. I mean, people don't even know what that is. And there was a cartoon I saw the other day, and there was a Yellow Pages book, and the kid put it up and said, "What's this?" And I went, "Oh man."
That's true though.
Back in the old days, you named your pediatric practice with the letter A in it so that you would show up first in the list in the Yellow Pages of pediatricians.
One and Only, because we thought we could use the number 1 and appear at the top of Yahoo's list.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you so much. And have a good rest of your day and weekend.
Yeah, it's just the chance to sit down and have a real conversation about the bumps and bruises along the path. Really valuable. I think there's too many stories of it where it's just the glossy, successful, ta-da at the end. And it's both, I think, something that the path can be really full of enjoyment, even when it's hard.
And bootstrappers out there, feel free to tell us about your story. We're always looking for people because it's easy to forget the troubles and the way you overcame the obstacles. And so those are the stories we want to share with people.
Absolutely. Bootstrappers, if you like this, please like this video, subscribe. We'll have more and more content coming your way.
Bye, guys.